The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host and guest and are not necessarily those of WPSL or WSTU. This station does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without the express permission and written consent of this station. Phone lines are open for your questions and comments. Call 220-9788 or 340-1590. And now, here's your host.
In the studio with the Treasure Coast Car Guys every Tuesday morning, Steve Friend, your host. Welcome back.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, and Gary's here too.
I'm here. Gary is here. Gary's in the house. So I thought today, first off, just to say a few words about the conclusion of the month of October. It was also a very, very good automotive month. Certain manufacturers slipped a little bit. I'd like to recognize, first off, our Toyota dealership in Stuart, Treasure Coast Toyota of Stuart, who attained 139% of their sales objective this month.
Great.
Which was just an amazing job. So congratulate Amber on an unbelievable job. Great team. And Lexus store, we didn't do 138%, but we did great, and our business continues to grow. And we do see a lot more people coming down, snowbirds. So it looks like it's going to be a
time of year.
Great season. And we have one more week as of today until the election. Not to get political. However,
we do. Yeah.
I really miss the Toyota and Lexus commercials.
It's a nail biter this year.
Oh, this is really incredible.
Yeah.
Every day it's just something new. So it will be quite interesting to see how it develops.
It will.
So I thought today a couple things that I just wanted to share with the listening public. We have talked about the trends in the automotive business as far as less cars and more sport utilities and trucks. And for the month of October, 62.2% of all the retail and lease sales were trucks and SUVs. So you can see it's really leaning towards that direction as the manufacturers had suspected. Another important pricing, it's not an issue, but it's really interesting that the average price of a new vehicle today is just under $32,000. To be precise, it's $31,383. And basically, the reason why I bring that up, obviously the vehicles are more expensive, but keep in mind there are a lot of different ways to pay for it, whether it's special rate financing at 0% for 72 months, which a lot of the manufacturers have. We have it at Lexus on one of our models. Toyota has it on a bunch of different models. But it also is the strongest argument for leasing. And as we see nationally, the lease penetration rate is just about 32%. Which is really strong. It's come a long way up from the mid to upper 20s in the last couple of years. So the leasing indicates it's more of an affordability index for people. So they're going to take a short-term lease, preferably usually 3 years, and it makes it a lot more affordable, and it also doesn't tie up their funds for 72 months to make long-term payments on cars. So another trend that we see happening right now is the increase in prices of gasoline. It seems that it's inching up slowly. I would say in the last month and a half, it's had to go up 20 cents locally from what we've seen.
Yep.
And this morning on the way up, sitting in 2 hours of traffic, I was listening to one of the stations, and they were talking about a pipeline somewhere that had burst. And there was an issue, and they expect that it's not going to be a severe interruption of the flow of gasoline, but they do expect the price to spike a little bit because of it.
Sure.
And my apologies, I don't recall where it was, but it was on the news, and they did speak about it because they do expect pricing to go up. So along those lines, I thought it would be very timely to talk and bring up about the hybrid cars and trucks that are currently offered by Toyota and Lexus. So I'm going to start really with the Toyota line. And, it's interesting that that as the price of gasoline has gone down, in some model lines, the hybrids have slowed a little bit, but most people really understand that if gas is $2 or $2.25 a gallon currently, we know that it's not going to be there forever. And at some point, it's going to go back up to the $3, $3.50, $4.
Well, we can hope not.
Well, we can certainly hope and keep our
hope
fingers
not,
crossed.
yeah.
But, unfortunately, it's all cyclical, and, it's going to happen eventually.
You still get a tax break for buying a hybrid now?
Well, yes, you do. We're going to talk about that in a minute, too. So I just want to go over, we'll start with Toyota first. And we'll talk about the different models. For the listeners who don't know, there are 7 Toyota models that are out there right now that are hybrids. Starting with the Camry hybrid, which is really an incredible vehicle. The Camry currently, and it has been for several years now, the best-selling car in the United States. And it is rated at 42 miles per gallon in the city and 38 miles per gallon on the highway. So right off the bat, people would say, if they're not familiar with hybrid technology, well, why is the city mileage higher than it is in highway? And it's really a great question. You have to understand that the hybrid is designed for the city type driving. And you're utilizing the batteries more in the city driving as opposed to highway, where you're really predominantly on the gasoline engine.
Stop and go.
So they're designed to bolster the gas mileage for stop and go driving. And Gary's going to get a little more technical. I'm just going to get the products out for a minute, and then he'll just put a couple pointers in about it. So the Camry is rated at 42 miles per gallon in the city and 38 miles on the highway. Now,
Well, who can complain, though, about 38 on the highway? I mean, you can't
Nobody.
complain about that at all.
No, it's great gas mileage. And the interesting part is it's a full-size car. So, I mean, you can fit a full load of people and luggage and what have you, and you're going to get that type of mileage. And from what I understand in talking to so many clients, that mileage is very accurate. You can kind of pretty much, unless you've got an extremely heavy foot, you can really count on that mileage. So the next vehicle that they have is the Avalon Hybrid, which that is rated at 39 miles per gallon in the city, and it's 40 miles per gallon on the highway. So it's pretty close, 39 to 40, which is interesting. Next is the Highlander Hybrid, which is a full size. Now, what's interesting about the Highlander Hybrid, it's the only 7-passenger hybrid recreational sport utility vehicle on the market today. That vehicle gets 27 miles to the gallon in the city and 28 on the highway. And very, very interesting, because there's not too many sport utilities that can claim that, especially being a full-size sport utility. So, of course, then we have the family of Prius. And the gas mileage is really, it's insane when you look at it. So it's 54 miles to the gallon in the city, and it's 50 miles per gallon on the highway.
That is crazy.
And for 2016, keep in mind, the entire vehicle has been redesigned, and it's really selling well. It's incentivized very nicely with very low percentage financing. And it's really, that's the vehicle that really started everything with the hybrid technology. Now, there's a Prius, the normal hatchback, and then there is a smaller Prius C, and that one gets 53 miles to the gallon in the city and 46 on the highway. And the Prius V, which is almost like it's a station wagon type vehicle. And it's a larger vehicle, and it's rated at 43 and 39 on the highway. So what's interesting about that, if you've ever gone out to, let's say, California, for example, and land in LAX, you can get out, and when you get a taxi cab, all of them are these Prius 5s. They're big. They carry a lot of luggage, and you can carry up to 5 passengers comfortably in it. It's got a tremendous amount of room, and it gets unbelievable gas mileage. And last but not least is the RAV4 hybrid. Now, that was a new vehicle that came out last year with the hybrid technology, and that car, for a sport utility, gets 34 miles to the gallon and 30 miles on the highway. So all in all, I mean, you're in the upper 30s to upper 40s, and some, as the regular Prius hatchback, in the 50 mile per gallon range. And that is not to be taken lightly, because as the prices of gasoline inch up, you're going to see more and more people gravitate to those vehicles. I mean, they are already, but you're going to even see more demand for that. But, you know, a lot of people say, well, besides the gas mileage, well, what else is it, you know, that attracts people about the hybrid technology, and what are the reasons why people would be interested in converting over to hybrid cars? So just a couple of top feature points. Number one, environmentally friendly. It runs cleaner. Of course, it has better gas mileage, and it's environmentally friendly, which really means a lot. Next, the financial benefits. There are federal tax credits. Now, I don't have a list of the dollar amounts. They're kind of on a sliding scale, but you do get tax credits. So instead of a deduction where you could just deduct a couple $1,000s off the tax credit, whatever your tax liability is, you get, let's say it's $2,000. If you owe $2,000, it zeroes out your tax bill. So the tax credit is a significantly better proposition when you buy one of those vehicles, as opposed to tax deduction.
Now, we've known that Toyota has been dependable for a very long period of time, and you can drive them many, many, many hundreds of thousands of miles. Are the hybrids haven't been around as long? Are they lasting just as long as any other Toyota?
Not only are they lasting just as long, but proportionately they're holding their resale value significantly better as well.
I mean, I'm thinking 50 miles to the gallon, and I'm driving a car for 300,000 miles. That's a lot of savings.
It's tremendous savings. And, it's really interesting. For example, in the Lexus lineup, we have the ES350, which is a car that averages 26 miles to the gallon. And we have the identical car with the hybrid technology. It's called the ES300H that gets 40 miles to the gallon. So if you look at both cars, they're absolutely identical. One has got the 6-cylinder, the other is the 4-cylinder hybrid with the battery. And not really all that much difference in the horsepower or the performance level. But what's interesting is that car for car, they have the same size gas tank, and you get 276 miles more per tank if you do the hybrid. So it's 40 miles per gallon versus 26 miles per gallon. So it's really a tremendous thing. And we have seen, Gary, I'm going to, for you to talk about it from as far as the serviceability.
Right.
We haven't seen any differences as far as serviceability between the hybrids or between the gasoline models.
There are none. When we work on a hybrid vehicle, though, there's the technicians, of course, they have to be specially trained for that. And if you work on a hybrid vehicle, if you walk in our shop, we have a hybrid vehicle down, that we have cones and ropes and warning signs and stuff all over the place, because they can hurt you if you don't know what you're doing if you work on them. Another thing that I wanted to mention too is the hybrid battery. People are leery about that hybrid battery and the cost of that. That hybrid battery is warranted for 10 years, 100,000 miles. So
and plus the fact, if I may, from what I understand, and I've met so many Prius buyers over the years, and they've driven 150, 200,000 miles with seamless performance and no issues whatsoever. And when hybrids became mainstream, so many people kind of were a little hesitant because they were concerned just exactly what you were talking about as far as the reliability. Well, how long is the battery going to last? Well, the battery pretty much lasts as long as the car is going to last.
It does. We don't see a lot of hybrid battery failures in the shop. Haven't for a long, long time. Occasionally, you might get it, but it's rare, very, very rare. And the manufacturer, they usually step up and take care of that for you.
And also, isn't it true, though, that if a particular cell goes bad in the battery, that you can, with the hybrid technology?
Toyotas, you can replace that particular cell. That's new technology that it just came out with not too long ago.
Right. So, the fear has been taken out of that. And the same great reliability that all Toyotas have, it's the same thing with the hybrid technology.
And it's also, excuse me, it's a huge investment for the dealer to be able to sell these things too, because you have to have thousands and thousands of dollars of special tools. We've got our own special toolboxes for them, and it takes a trained technician to work on these automobiles.
Well, it also, and we've spoken about this many times. We know there's some great independent repair shops that are out there, but unless they are really trained and adept in understanding the hybrid technology and having the proper tools and the proper diagnostic tools to be able to ascertain what exactly is going on with that car, you really got to bring it to the dealership.
So it kind of has to be a mechanic and an electrician.
Mostly, well, they don't really, Veronica, they don't really call them mechanics anymore. They're technicians. And I got to say that if you go into our shop, our technicians' hands, they're cleaner than mine. So that's bodes to say that the cars are cleaner. They don't leak oil, all that kind of stuff. So we don't have major component failures on these automobiles either, as far as engines and transmissions and differentials and transfer cases and things like that. They just last forever.
Well, it's interesting when you said transfer cases. So one of the things when you drive a hybrid for the first time, when you drive a conventional car with a regular, whether it's a 6, 7, or 8-speed automatic transmission, you can actually feel the shift points when you put your foot into the gas pedal. Well, the thing about hybrid, you don't feel shift points because it's a variable transmission.
It's called a CVO transmission. That is correct.
And when you drive it, it's just constant power. So there are no shift points. As a matter of fact, in 2006, when Lexus introduced its first RX hybrid vehicle, they put artificial shift points in because they didn't think that people would be able to acclimate themselves and not feel the transmission shifting.
You might be thinking something's wrong.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
I didn't feel the car shift.
Right.
Yeah.
So really, it's fabulous technology, and I think it's what, 5th level of technology now, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow. Yeah. 5th or 6th. It's up there. It's up there.
So, besides the environmental friendly advantage and the financial benefits, also less dependent on fossil fuel, which is great, and the regenerative braking. Okay, so very quickly, each time that you apply the brake while driving a hybrid vehicle, it helps you to recharge the battery. So an internal mechanism kicks in that captures the energy released and it uses it to charge the battery, which in turn eliminates the amount of time and need for stopping to recharge the battery. So it's really a self-contained unit because every time you hit the brakes, you have this regenerative power, which is great. And also, which I didn't know, in reading this morning, that a lot of the Toyota hybrids are built with a little lighter materials. So that also contributes to a little bit better gas mileage.
And that also offsets the battery because the batteries are pretty hefty in these cars.
And last but not least, and this is really the best part, because the hybrid vehicles are slightly more from a dollar standpoint. I mean, you obviously, when you keep the vehicle for several years, recoup that amount, and more so with the gas. But traditionally, hybrid vehicles do retail and resale for more money than a non-hybrid vehicle. So there's tremendous benefits to that. So a couple of other things that with some awards and some things about the Toyota product. And this is from U.S. News and World Reports. Of course, they can't be wrong. So 5 Toyota hybrids are listed on the U.S. News and World Reports for the best hybrid and electric cars. And it starts number 1 in the country is the 2017 Camry hybrid. Number 4 is the Avalon hybrid. Number 5 is the Prius. Number 6, the 4th is the Prius 5, which is rated number 8, and then the Prius C is rated number 14. And then it says that 4 Toyota hybrids have been given the highest safety ratings out of any of the cars. Prius is rated number 8. The 2017 Camry is 3rd. The Avalon hybrid for large car category is rated number 7. And the mid-side SUV, the Highlander hybrid, is rated number 3. Well, whether it's number 8, 3, 7, or it's 3, they're all 5-star rated cars. So they're all very, very safe products. Edmunds, which is another source that documents a lot of different things with pricing, resaleability, and what have you. 2 of the Toyota hybrids are listed on Edmunds' 2016 recommended hybrid electric car list, and that was the Camry and the Highlander. And once again, the Highlander is the only 3rd-row SUV available in a hybrid. KBB.
Is that what we used to know as 4Runner? Is that a
No.
similar vehicle? Okay.
It's similar, but it's not the same.
Okay.
Yeah, because there is a 4Runner and a Highlander.
Okay.
Yeah. KBB, Kelly Blue Book, the top-rated hybrids of 2016 was the Prius C. And once again, the safest are the RAV4, Highlander, and the Camry. So when you look at all the data that's out there and you do your comparative shopping, it becomes quite clear from the Toyota brand standpoint that we have these 7 hybrids, which is more than any other manufacturer has, and it's all across the different model bases, that not only is the gas mileage exceptional, but the cars are much quieter, and environmentally friendly is really significant because if you really do care about the atmosphere and the air you're breathing, these are basically non-polluting cars.
They are.
So it really makes a lot of sense, and especially with the increase in gas prices coming, or actually in the last month going, it makes a lot of sense to really explore that. And Treasure Coast Toyota of Stuart has a great inventory of these cars, and if we don't have it, we could certainly get it for you. Toyota builds it, we will get it for you at a great price. So switching over to the Lexus brand for a moment, we have also we have 6 current hybrid models that are available, and 1 new one coming out in the spring, which we'll talk about in a minute, which is the LC model.
That's an exciting car.
Yep. So we have the CT200H, which is a smaller hatchback Lexus product that gets 42 miles to the gallon combined, which is amazing. Then we have the ES hybrid, which we spoke about earlier, and that gets 40 miles to the gallon. Now, we have a GS hybrid, Now, for those of you who don't know, the GS is a mid-size performance car that's full-size, and you can only get the hybrid technology version of that car by special order at a Lexus dealership, which normally takes about 90 days to 120 days. It is not a stock unit. You're not going to pull up to a Lexus dealership and find that car. It's a real enthusiast car, and they make it very, very limited. But I will tell you, if you're looking for a full-size car that has a lot of get up and go and that will get in excess of 30 miles to the gallon, it's a car you might want to explore. It's an amazing all-around car.
That's a GS 450H.
That is correct.
Yes.
And then another car that's also a special order car only is the LSH. Now, the LS is our flagship car. That's a $100,000 plus car, and it picks up, I believe, 5 or 6 miles more per gallon. So it's close to the 30 mile per gallon range on a full-size car and a heavy car. But the emissions standard on the car is just remarkable, where it's virtually no pollutants whatsoever. So that also is a special order car. And then we have a new product which came out last year, the NX. So this is our smaller entry-level sport utility, and that also is available in a hybrid. And that's a 35 mile per gallon car all day long. And then we have the RX 450H, which is an amazing vehicle. I can speak personally about that because we had leased one back in 2010. We had it for 3 years. And I remember when the lease was up, my wife had tears in her eyes. She didn't want to give up the car. That was a true 30 mile per gallon car. And the thing that I remember most about that car, we were out New Year's Eve, the first year that we had that, and we went to go see one of the shows at the Broward County Theater Performing Arts. Howie Mandel, was it? I think
That's
so.
a long time ago.
Yeah, it
Steve.
was. Okay, I'm just thinking. But it wasn't so much the show. What was fascinating, we were with a couple, and we were in the hybrid, and I remember they were getting ready by the beach to launch fireworks for New Year's Eve. And we were sitting in traffic, and we couldn't get out of the parking lot at the Broward County Theater of Performing Arts. And the car ran for about 20 minutes on the batteries with the air conditioning on and the stereo system on, not using an ounce of gasoline. The people we were with were just fascinated by it. They just couldn't believe it, and they ended up getting one too. It was just remarkable technology. And I think, Gary, if I'm correct, when the hybrid started to become mainstream, isn't it true that that's when they started to convert like power steering to electric steering and stuff like that?
That is
what's
correct.
behind that and why they do it and what are the benefits
That is
of that?
correct. Well, I'm going to go back to what you had just talked about. First of all, with why the hybrids get such great fuel economy in the city, as Steve just mentioned it, that he was sitting in 20 minutes and the car wasn't running. And of course, everybody knows that when your car is idling, it uses the most gas. But yes, when the hybrids came out, and Steve mentioned the phases of the hybrids that are out there right now, we're at 6 or 7. The two-stage hybrid, that's when they started converting everything from hydraulics to electric. So that, again, was less strain on the engine and the hybrid systems on the car. So nowadays, even our gasoline model cars have electric steering, and anything that they can convert to electricity instead of using hydraulics and stuff to give the normal cars better fuel economy and stuff, and serviceability. But, the bottom line to all of this, what we're talking about, is maintaining the automobile. You could have the best fuel-efficient car on the planet. If it's not maintained properly, it's not going to do you any good. And that goes with front-end alignments and proper tires and tire inflation, making sure that, the filters in the car are changed out when they're supposed to be. That all helps to get this enormous fuel economy that we're talking about. So there's a lot of things that you can do to increase your fuel economy, even with the hybrids, by keeping your tires inflated properly, putting nitrogen in your tires. We talked about our NitroFill program that we have. It's a green thing. People are more green these days. They want environmentally friendly stuff out there to purchase and to buy. Our NitroFill program, when you purchase one of our new Lexuses, it's automatically filled with nitrogen. We send you reminders once a month. Top off your tire pressures and stuff like that. It all helps.
And I would also think now that we get into the winter months.
Yes.
kind of funny to say winter months in South Florida, but they are. I mean,
It's a bit cooler.
I've been here 40 plus years now,
Yeah.
and winter months still kind of
Yeah.
make me giggle.
Yeah.
But what I find interesting is that with the change of weather, that's when the lights come on and you have to adjust the tire pressure, and we're happy to do that, no charge, at our
Right.
dealerships, and we'll check it for you to make sure that it's just that.
Yes, we'll be sending out an email blast shortly about that as well, because the temperatures in the morning, they do get a little bit chilly, and then of course it rises. And Steve was mentioning the lights coming on. The air molecules in the tires, when it gets cold, they get smaller, and that will put your tire pressure light to come on.
And also, correct me if I'm wrong, Gary, but if you let the car sit, because I know that we have, in both of our dealerships, we have a lot of snowbirds. So if the car sits for a couple months, is there any appreciable loss of nitrogen or air in the tires?
Well, it depends on who you listen to. Nitrogen molecules are bigger, like we've discussed before, than air molecules. Tires are porous, rims are porous. The nitrogen molecules won't escape from the tire as fast as air molecules will. But the most important thing about if a car is sitting for a while is the flat spots in the tire.
Right.
We have a way to correct that as well. We'll bring the car in the shop. We'll inflate the tires to an exorbitant tire pressure to try to get that stuff out of there and let it sit overnight, and then deflate it and then refill it up with nitrogen again. And 9 times out of 10, that usually corrects that problem.
It's interesting you say that. Just this morning, at 5 o'clock in the morning, I have a very dear friend who's one of our neighbors down south, and he's purchased several Lexuses from us already. And he is a snowbird, and he spends months up in New York, and he has a sport utility Lexus up north that he keeps, and he has a ES350 down here. So he's 3 doors down from me, and I know he's coming in today after not being here for a few months, and I was responsible for taking care of, checking out his house. Actually, last month, pulling the hurricane
Go turn the
shutters.
air on. Right.
And but more importantly, starting his car. And most people think, well, you just got to start the car and make sure with the battery and everything's good. But I would drive it, I would take it out of the garage and move it a few feet,
That's
and I would
important.
do it every Sunday. I actually had it in my phone as a reminder. And it was important because of what you always tell me about flat spots.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's the same thing with cars on our lots. When cars sit, it's really a good policy. Number one, you got to start them and you got to maintain a lot. And you have to wash them every week, which we do.
Yep,
in
we
both
have
our
to move them
stores.
around.
Move around.
And you have to move them to make sure that you don't develop any flat spots. When you do have a flat spot, you know immediately when you get in a car and you're driving it because the steering wheel is shaking,
And it's thumping.
and you can feel it in the particular tire. So we're very mindful of that in both stores, and we make sure that we don't have that type of issue. But it just occurred to me, though, when I was starting his car every Sunday, that I would pull it out a little, and I would never kind of put it in the exact same spot, so it would sit a little differently.
Right.
But I did notice his tire light came on from sitting a couple months. It might have been 3 months already.
Yeah, it'll probably go off this afternoon when the,
So-
when the air temperature gets a little bit warmer.
Well, I left his car outside, so we'll heat up. We'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
If not, you'll see the car here
Veronica
tomorrow. I
made a
guess
crazy.
I'll bring it up.
She made a crazy statement. Make sure you turn the air conditioning on in the winter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking, I'm here a permanent resident. I don't leave. So, but probably the refrigerator, you have to empty that and unplug it while you're gone, I would think.
Interestingly enough, they kept it on,
Okay.
and the air conditioning. It's funny.
You just
when
have it
they
on
were,
low, so it just
yeah,
comes on
they
every now and
keep
again.
it on like 78, 79 degrees, and because you want to have air circulating in the house. And other than that, you have the alarm on. Hurricane shutters were very accessible. They were accordion, so it took me 12 minutes to get his house
Yeah,
ready, which was
yeah.
great. Although when I pulled them and turned the handle, I didn't realize that it locked them, and I had to call them to get the keys.
Oh, no.
So,
yeah.
but not a big deal. But the bottom line is, for a lot of people who keep a car here, the reason why we're speaking of this is because if you turn the car on when you get back from wherever when the car's sitting for a few months, and you do see the tire lights on, feel free to just bring it
Yeah.
to the store and we'll check it.
We want to see the car anyway, just to make sure that everything's good. You'll sometimes get, depending on where the car's parked, most of these cars are parked in garages and stuff, but if they happen to be parked outside, you'll get some condensation built up on the rotors, which can create a pretty aggressive grinding type noise until that rusty surface gets cleaned off. But we'd like to see the car to make sure that everything is working properly on it, and if you can't bring it, just call us up. We'll come and get it. And
Question
back
for
to
you.
the store.
As far as if the car, let's say it's sitting outside and you do get some of the surface rust that accumulates from sitting on the rotors, just by driving it, that cleans it?
It'll get rid of it initially, yes, and hopefully it won't create what we tend to call a pulsation. And there's a lot of different theories about what makes a car pulsate when you're driving it, and people always say, "Oh, the rotors are warped." It's the run out on the rotors is it has to be perfect, because if there's any waves in the rotors, it's going to give you a bouncy feeling in the brake pedal. But most of the pulsation comes from the stuff that gets between the brake pad and the disc itself. So a lot of times taking those things off, cleaning the disc off, getting rid of the surface rust on there eliminates that, and it's less expensive.
Is there anything else that you can share with the listeners as far as if the car sits for a couple, 3, 4 months and the people are out of town, what service or what really needs to be done?
Important things is battery. We need to make sure that the state of health of the battery is fine. I mentioned last time we were here, we talked about the 4 measurements that we do on the batteries to make sure that they're good. There's the state of health, state of charge, the battery voltage, and the cold cranking amps. We have to make sure that all that stuff is working properly. We want to make sure the belts and stuff are good on the car. Filters, tires, brakes, things of that nature, safety items. We want to make sure that you're safe. So we would just like to look at the car. There's no charge for that. We do free multi-point inspections all the time to make sure that our guests are comfortable with their automobiles, and it gives them peace of mind.
Well, also, you always talk about the fact that for any service in either of our dealerships, whatever is done, whether it's a simple oil change or a tire rotation, we always do the multi-point inspection.
Right.
And the beauty of that is that it's kind of a color-coded system to make it very legible and understandable for clients and for people like me that are not savvy when it comes to all that. Very simply stated, when all the lights are green on the report, we have no issues, and you're good to go. If you see a yellow light, it means caution, obviously, but that at some point we're going to need to address it. It doesn't mean that you need to spend money and do it now.
Correct.
So, for example, if we do a brake inspection and we think there's another 7,500 miles to the brakes, we're going to let you know and just give you a heads up. So this way you have every 6 months when you service the car, you have a good indication of exactly what's going on, and we monitor and take care of that car, and that way you really don't have any surprises.
Mm-hmm.
And we use genuine parts as well. We put all the right hardware back on the car. Of course, we talk about aftermarket facilities, which we have nothing against. They are less expensive in some cases, but the warranties on the parts aren't as good. They're not genuine parts. They're not designed or engineered to fit the car properly. So, for example, if somebody comes in and we recommend brake repair on the car, our brakes are on special because it's a maintenance, it's a loss leader for us. So we charge $280 per axle. Well, you can go to any of these
That's
other
at the
places.
Lexus.
That's
at the Lexus store. Yeah.
You can go to any of these other places, and they'll give you $39.95 brakes for life. They don't put the correct hardware back on the car. The brakes are noisy, they squeak. And the most important thing about it is the stopping distance. Our brake pads are designed and engineered for the automobiles. And, let's face it, if you're going to buy a luxury automobile like a Lexus, you want to have the right parts on it.
Well, the same goes with Toyota.
Same goes with
because
Toyota.
really,
absolutely.
It's
I'm an original equipment kind of girl.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
me too.
I'm
Yeah.
going to tell you a story about that as far as body panels, which we'll get to in just a second, which I found out firsthand.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
What's interesting, and I hear this a lot from Gary and some of the service writers that we have, and at the Toyota shop too, that people will go and they'll go to an aftermarket place and they believe that they're saving a lot of money on the brakes, and they bring the car in because the brakes are making noise.
They're chattering or they're pulsating. Or
And
grinding.
we look, we don't see anything that's wrong with the car other than the fact that it is not a Toyota or a Lexus original equipment part. And you might save a little bit of money, and you're saving for 2 reasons. Number one, you're not getting OEM parts, original equipment parts. And number 2, you don't have a trained specialist that's dedicated himself to be a master certified technician for Toyota or Lexus,
Correct.
where dealerships have tens of thousands of dollars invested in that and with the right kind of equipment to diagnose the particular cars. So, of course, it's going to be cheaper. But, like anything else in life, you
But
get...
it's really not in the end because you're coming in
No.
with a problem.
Exactly, exactly. So several months ago, I was involved in a car accident, I was standing still and got rear-ended by a tractor trailer. It was quite interesting, and I think the crazy part was that I actually was watching the whole thing unfold, and there was really nothing I could do about it. So there was significant damage to the car. I drive an LS. Now, the interesting part about that was there was $15,000 worth of damage that was done to my car, and the 18-wheeler was actually towed away. And I drove my damaged LS 460 Lexus back to the
my
dealership.
better judgment, because he
Right.
called me and I said, "Don't drive that car. Let's just come and get it." And he goes, "Nope, I can drive it."
And
he did.
well, it was only a couple miles away. And I drove it to the dealership, and they were really quite surprised that the car held up like that.
I was shocked.
It was amazing, truly amazing. But because of the value of the car, insurance companies have specific rules as far as totaling the car, and I think it has to be, what, 80%?
It's 75% of the retail value of the automobile.
So 75 or 80%. I wouldn't bet my life on which it is, but it's right in that area. And unfortunately, it did not meet that requirement, so they had to undergo a repair. And the first estimate I got had all non-factory parts,
Because of the insurance company, correct?
of course. So,
And you went,
well, I really fought that hard,
Yeah.
and
I mean, they're now even looking in junkyards for parts to put on your.
We see
I
it
mean,
all
you
the
can have like
time.
a brand new car, get in a fender bender, and have a replacement part come from the junkyard.
it's really a very important consideration that people really don't think about when they're shopping for insurance. And there are a lot of variations of the way insurance companies handle accidents. There are some companies that offer accident forgiveness where if it's your fault, the rate doesn't go up for the first one. You really have to do your homework with insurance companies. And, your better insurance companies are just that. They're better. So the bottom line is that I really had to argue and put up quite a fight to make sure that I didn't get aftermarket parts, because I heard horror stories that they put a fender on, for example, or, in my case, they actually had to cut a section of the car off and weld in a new piece. It was crazy. So I was not happy about it, but I will say it really came out great. And when you use original parts, the fit and the finish was perfect. Now, I heard horror stories where you put a new fender on, or a door panel, or something of that nature, or a trunk, or a hood, and it's not a factory original part, and the car doesn't line up right.
We've seen those cars in our store
No.
a lot of times. Water leaks in cars. Lexus cars and Toyota cars do not rattle, leak, or have wind noises. When we get a car in there that's got especially a water leak, that kind of throws up red flag for us, because we know that these cars don't leak water.
Yep, sure.
And it's usually because of panel fitments and alignments. And you do the research and stuff, and it always, 99.9% of the time, the car's been involved in some kind of collision. And back to what Steve was saying about the insurance companies, if you read their contracts when you sign up for insurance, there's a stipulation there that says that they're allowed to use what's called LKQ parts, which is like, kind, and quality. But who's to differentiate what is like, kind, and quality on that part? It could be a part that they pull out of a junkyard. Well, it's the same car, it's the same panel.
but it's
so-
already been in an accident
it's
if it came out of the junkyard.
Exactly. So that's what's called like, kind, and quality of the part, and they use them. Some aftermarket mechanical coverage policies also state that you can use like, kind, and quality parts. So if you buy an automobile from an independent lot, not a Lexus dealership, and they sell them a mechanical warranty on the car, and we just had one of these, and we having problems with it right now. Has something happened to the engine, insurance company, the mechanical insurance policy said, okay, we're going to send you a motor. They sent us a motor. It came out of a junkyard. So we put the motor in the car, and then that motor doesn't work right, and then we got to pull it back out, put another one in. Now the car's back in there. The harmonic balancer pulley's blown apart on the thing, so it's a nightmare.
See, what a lot of people don't realize is that there are a lot of companies that sell extended warranties, mechanical breakdown insurance. And what they do is they buy motor vehicle lists and registration lists, and that's how they get your name. So when you buy a new car or you buy a pre-owned car, all of a sudden you're in their system and they're calling and they're trying to sell you a warranty. I mean, if you open your mail frequently, you more often than not, you're going to see, well, your warranty on your car is about to end, and we offer X, Y, Z.
Yeah,
Just
extended
write in your
warranty.
credit card number, and you have another guarantee for like 300 years and another 25. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, we talked about
And-
that a couple of months
And
ago.
that's
we
not
did.
coming from the manufacturer of my vehicle.
No. And we had a case just several months ago. I remember I was sitting at the Toyota dealership. A really great guy came in, and he drives a Camry hybrid. And he got a phone call, not fully understanding what it was. And he went ahead and gave his credit card number to this company and paid an exorbitant amount on an extended warranty. And he kind of realized after the fact, and I remember he came in, he said, "Can I talk to you? Is there anything you can do to help?" And I made sure that his credit card was reversed and it was canceled. And fortunately, we were able to do that for him. But at the end of the day, you truly get what you pay for. Whether if you pay a little bit more for a brake job at a car dealership as opposed to an independent, as long as they're using the correct parts and it's being diagnosed properly with the right equipment and everything, if it's a couple dollars more, and a lot of the times it's not. It's
not.
very, very similar pricing. Most people don't realize that. But when it comes to extended warranties, got to understand that once the car is out of warranty, any repair could be very expensive. And unfortunately, with 10,000 plus moving parts in these cars and computer systems, things do break on occasion. As great as the Toyota product is, as great as the Lexus product is, and so many other brands that are really great quality, these things happen. So, we present that in both stores. We have what's known as a menu presentation. So after you buy the car and you go into the finance office to go ahead and sign for the loan or pay for the car, we offer as a service to let people know that we offer these products, and you could pay for them separately, or you can put it in a car payment. For example, now that leasing, like in our Lexus stores, over 81% leasing. There's a product that has come on the scene. It's been around for the last few years, but it's very popular now, and most people do buy this. It's a few dollars extra a month. It's called excess wear and tear. Now, what that policy does, let's say you have a 3-year lease, you have kids, you have a couple of dings and chips on the paint, there's a mark on the seats, and let's say your tires are close to needing replacement. That policy will cover up to $7,000 worth of anything that needs to get done with the car. So when you go ahead and turn the lease back in, you're not going to be charged for anything. So it takes the fear out of what people used to think. Well, I'm a little concerned if, what happens if the car goes back and it's got a mark on it. Well, now you're fully protected. The only thing it does not cover is excess miles. So when you negotiate the lease, it's very, very important that you take a realistic approach to the type of miles that you're going to drive.
Right.
I know that sometimes in the middle of the lease, people's situations change. I had a situation like that with my wife.
And you don't want to have to park it, right?
No, well, when you're paying for it, you don't want to have to. But we had no choice, and my mother-in-law had gotten sick several years ago, and we ended up putting double the mileage on the car. So we had to, actually, it worked out kind of good because the fact that the product, the Lexus product and the Toyota product hold their value so well, we were kind of even in the lease, so we really didn't take a hit because of the mileage. But when you lease a car, you definitely want to take a very close look at the excess wear and tear policy. If you don't buy anything else, that is something that you really should consider, because any mark today, and lease companies are very conscientious about doing their job, and when they come and they inspect the cars on our lots after you've surrendered them, they're looking for damage. So
There
it's
was a
very
phone call-
important.
phone call I got the other day, and I've never had this brought to my attention before, but a client of ours called up and asked me, I got an fender bender, and the place that I want to fix the car, I want to use aftermarket parts. Is Lexus going to charge me for those aftermarket parts on my car when I turn my lease in?
Yeah, because really the vehicle is the collateral. You're paying
is.
to use it.
But you're
Yeah,
talking
exactly.
about
But it belongs to somebody else.
Headlights, taillights, and stuff like that. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, that's a great question. I ran it by Steve, and Steve goes, well, I don't know, but you know what I did see not too long ago was a car that got fixed at an independent place, and they put aftermarket parts on it, and the taillights were different.
I was telling Gary, I
Yeah.
saw the car,
Yeah.
and it was the craziest thing. It was a gold ES, and I'm driving behind it, and I could tell by looking at the side of the car, certain, the way the light hits it, you can tell if a car's been repainted or not. And I'm looking at it, and I go, it looks like he might have been sideswiped or something. But the left tail light was different than the right tail light, which led me to believe that A, it was either the wrong year taillight that was put on, or it was an aftermarket part
Right.
that was not an exact duplicated part.
Wow.
So,
What's very important about this entire conversation is that when you decide to take your car, or where your insurance company wants you to take the car, but you get to take the car wherever you want. Don't let the insurance company dictate to you that you have to take it someplace. You ask them, where do you buy your parts? Now, this scenario with this client that I was speaking to, I gave her 2 places to take the car, very reputable places. They work on Lexus cars all of the time. And the one that we use mostly is Wally Broman's place, Classic Car Coating. The guy does excellent work. He buys all of his parts from us, so he's putting Lexus parts back on the car. Right. Another place, they buy all their parts from us, so we know that those parts are going to be Lexus parts.
that's Atlantic Collision.
Atlantic Collision,
Yeah.
that's correct. The one up on Bayshore.
Yeah.
So there you go, guys. You just got to hit.
But they really do an excellent job.
Atlantic
And
Collision fixed Steve's car,
Yeah.
and you can't tell that car was ever hit.
Yeah, they really did a
more
good
or
job.
less $15,000 worth of damage to that automobile. But thank goodness Steve's okay.
that's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
You always get another car.
Yeah.
Wow, and you saw it coming, huh?
I was standing still,
Wow.
and there were cars in front of me, and I looked in the rearview mirror, and I said, wow, that guy's getting a little close, and he's not stopping. And he got closer and closer, and boom, he didn't stop. And interesting
Push the truck
feeling.
into the back seat. It was bad.
Very interesting feeling to get hit and rear-ended by a big tractor, an 18-wheeler. And so it was quite interesting. So I'm just grateful that I was in the car that I was in.
Right.
The Lexus LS460 flagship, it's heavy, it's big, it is solid as a tank, and really it saved me from really getting hurt. So, and I was able to drive it back to the dealership. And they towed the truck away, which to me was just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I wish I could have made a movie of it. It would have been great.
We have pictures of the car, though.
Yeah.
Well, the GS.
I did want to say, as far as when you lease the car, as long as it's a certified body shop, doesn't have to be a Lexus or Toyota certified
Yes.
body shop, but there's certain certifications for body shops, and as long as it came out of a certified body shop,
They're
okay,
iCar. Most of them are called iCar.
as long as you have that designation, it shouldn't really be a problem. And I've really never really heard of any incidents where a lease company would go back to the client and charge them for that.
Unless the taillights were different.
Well, that could be.
You never know.
I don't know. It's something I noticed. It's kind of crazy. So, Gary, we're headed into full season now. We have
Yes.
tons of people that are coming back into the shop. Why don't you talk about our client care center for both the dealerships and about making an appointment and how that works?
Right. All you need to do is call either our Lexus store or our Toyota store, and you will be immediately transferred upstairs. We have a staff of, I believe we have eight ladies up there right now that all they do.
And Brandon.
And Brandon, of course. They are, it's called a client care center for a reason, because they actually care about you. They're not just there, okay, here's your appointment, blah. They walk you through the process. They tell you where to go, tell you how to deal with everything. And any questions that you have about your automobile, we have a knowledge drive that painstakingly built that several years ago. As a matter of fact, the Client Care Center just had
2
their
years.
2-year anniversary yesterday.
That's correct.
So, I mean, they've gotten really good at what they do. They're professional. They really care. That's the bottom line.
And basically, the way it works when you call, if it's a Toyota phone call or a Lexus phone call, it's transferred up to our client care center,
Which is
They
our
w-
Lexus store.
which is physically it's at our Lexus
Right.
store, but it handles both the Toyota and Lexus
Right.
dealership, and they make all the service appointments.
And you may get
So
a
it's
phone
kind of
call.
like I'm handing my problem over to someone who will help me.
Yes, and someone who
they
cares.
will. And the care is exactly right. And they will call you, maintenance reminders and stuff like that. One thing I do want to mention, in our Lexus store, we do a lot of valet pickup and deliveries, which means that we will bring you a new Lexus, pick yours up, bring it back to our shop, do the maintenance on it, clean it up, and drive it back to you. If you need that service, getting in close to the season, we're going to probably need about a week to 10-day leeway. So try to schedule your activities around that. We'll pick it up from your house, your work. We'll pick it up at the gym or the tennis courts or the pool or wherever you're at. We'll pick it up. Doesn't matter.
And we have close to 50 Lexus loaner cars.
We do.
And likewise, at our Toyota dealership, should you need a car, we have a Toyota rental car office. So if it's something that you need to leave the car or whatever, and you need to go out of town, whatever it might be, we do a tremendous business, and we have a ton of cars over there. And Shelley is the one to see there, and she handles all the rentals and does a great job. So we really have that service there, and of course at the Lexus store it is complimentary.
And it's big time convenient. People love that service. They tell us about it all the time.
Well, it doesn't intrude in their lives.
Exactly.
So we pick it right up at their driveway, and give them the keys to a new car, and
bring it back to you.
And bring it back to them.
I have to say, pardon our noise. We're getting a new door installed.
That's okay.
It just got a little loud in here all of a sudden.
That's okay. So this is the time that if you are in the market for a car or a truck, I will tell you that the inventory levels for the 2016 remaining models are disappearing quickly. Our Toyota store had a big month last month. They expect another huge month going in towards the end of the year. So our remaining 2016 inventory is shrinking very quickly. There are amazing 0% financing incentives and great lease deals on these cars. At the Lexus dealership, we have, it's interesting, this morning I took a look at our remaining 2016 inventory. We have 31 2016 models left and receiving truckloads of 2017s daily. Today we received, for both Toyota and Lexus, our year-end promotions, and I will tell you, not to get into specifics, but they are absolutely amazing deals. One of the things that I saw as far as the 2017 models with Lexus is if you're leasing a car, which is over 80% of the people who transact business with us, they will make your first payment on the car. So there's just some great stuff, and with the new technology and the safety packages that we have available for both Toyota and for Lexus, you really have to come out and take a look and let our sales executives really show you and teach you the operation of the car, present different options, and you're never going to feel like you're being sold in either of the stores. We present, we share, we inform, we give you several different options and show you different ways that you might not have considered how to buy the car or to lease the car, and then it's up to you to make the decision. And hopefully
you get to drive the best built cars in the world.
The absolute best built, the most reliable, great warranties. And the best part is that in both our dealerships, you got great people who really do care ultimately about taking care of you and making sure that it's 100% that you're happy with the car. And keep in mind, surveys show that less than 2% of people who purchase or lease cars today from new car dealerships are happy. If you go online and you look at our reviews for both our stores, the reviews are excellent. Our customer satisfaction index scores are excellent in both stores. And the people are excellent. So please.
I mean, really, the service after the sale, it speaks volumes. I mean,
that's what sells the second, third, fourth, and fifth car, not the first one.
We are out of time. Let us know where the dealerships are located.
Treasure Coast Lexus is located on US 1 in Fort Pierce, just south of Midway Road. And Treasure Coast Toyota of Stuart, located in US 1, about 16 miles south of our Lexus dealership in the heart of Stuart on the east side of the street. On US 1.
And of course, Treasure Coast Car Guys back next Tuesday. You're listening to WPSL Port St. Lucie, WSTU Stuart.